Last month, the world looked up, mesmerized by the slow, harmless passage of interstellar Comet 3 I/Atlas. Headlines called it a cosmic visitor. Cameras rolled. Humanity sighed in relief as it drifted past. Beautiful, distant, safe. But what the world didn't see was what truly mattered. While our eyes were turned to the skies, another visitor slipped through the gates of the solar system. A silent giant 100 times larger, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. It came not from myth or fiction, but from the forgotten edges of creation itself. Designated C/2025 R2, this cosmic beast crept in under the sun's blinding glare, undetected, invisible to every telescope we trust to guard our fragile home. Only after it had already brushed past the sun did the truth emerge. A ghostly hydrogen trail caught by a single, aging satellite camera orbiting in the darkness. By the time scientists realized what had happened, it was too late for warnings. The giant had already revealed itself, its tail spreading like a celestial wound, its path bending closer to Earth than any major comet in modern memory. But this isn't a story about impact or collision. It's a story about blindness, our illusion of control in an infinite universe. Because what we fail to see can change everything. And the debris it carries, the fragments it sheds, the ripples of its unseen passage, may trigger events far beyond our ability to predict. In 7 days, this hidden wanderer will pass through our cosmic neighborhood. The question isn't if we're ready, it's whether we've ever truly been awake to the universe that watches back. It began with a whisper, a faint ultraviolet glow in a stream of forgotten data. On September 11, 2025, somewhere in the quiet hum of a solar observation lab, a single pixel caught the eye of Vladimir Bizugly, a veteran astronomer long accustomed to cosmic noise. But this time, the noise spoke back. He was scanning through decades-old software linked to SOHO, a spacecraft older than a generation, orbiting between Earth and the Sun. Its purpose? To watch the solar winds, not to find comets. But sometimes, destiny hides in the wrong data. The glow came from a region where no light should have existed. It moved, pulsing faintly against the solar background. A cloud of hydrogen, spreading, expanding, alive. Within hours, the SWAN team flagged it, possible new comet. But when ground telescopes turned toward the coordinates, they saw nothing. The object was buried within the sun's blinding halo, invisible to every instrument bound to Earth's surface. Only SOHO's ultraviolet vision, capable of detecting hydrogen streaming from vaporizing ice, could see what others could not. By the time the alert reached official channels, the comet had already brushed past its closest distance to the sun, an encounter so close it could have shattered it to dust. Instead, it survived and grew. Astronomers named it C/2025 R2 SWAN, the 20th discovery credited to this ancient space sentinel. Its hydrogen envelope spanned millions of kilometers, a veil of vapor that spoke of immense energy and violent transformation. The discovery was not a victory. It was a revelation that even in the age of supercomputers and deep sky networks, the universe can still surprise us. And when it does, it reminds us, we are still the children of the stars watching giants move in the dark. For centuries, humanity has believed that the sky is mapped, measured, and mastered. We built telescopes that pierce the veil of galaxies, satellites that whisper data from the edge of interstellar space, and algorithms that track every rock and speck of ice crossing our path. We told ourselves, nothing escapes our watch. But the truth is far more humbling and terrifying. Between the Earth and the Sun lies a cosmic blind spot, a region so drenched in blinding light that no telescope on Earth can see what hides there. It's a corridor of invisibility, where comets, asteroids, and cosmic debris slip silently through the shadows of solar glare. That's exactly where C/2025 R2 came from. It didn't appear on radar, didn't reflect enough visible light, and wasn't predicted by any known orbital model. It was a ghost, moving through the solar furnace unseen, unannounced, unstoppable. When it finally emerged from the sun's radiance, humanity caught a brief glimpse of what we had missed. The hydrogen it left behind glowed like a wound in space, a reminder that our greatest weakness is our own overconfidence. NASA calls this region the Solar Observation Dead Zone, but among astronomers, it has another name, the Blind Zone. It's a cosmic gulf where our instruments falter and our technology turns useless, a reminder that even with all our progress, we are still standing at the edge of an unfathomable abyss. Every few decades, something massive passes through it. Most burn away, some survive, and every time one emerges, the same question echoes through mission control. If this one slipped through, what else is hiding in the light? In science, light is truth. It reveals, it measures, it defines reality itself. But sometimes, light carries more than just illumination. Sometimes, it carries secrets. When SOHO sensors recorded the passing of C/2025 R2, the data should have been routine. Hydrogen, dust, temperature, nothing extraordinary. But hidden deep within that signal was something no one expected, a pattern. At first, it looked like interference, rhythmic fluctuations inside the hydrogen emission spectrum. But when technicians ran the data through frequency analysis, the rhythm became clear. It wasn't random. It pulsed with a mathematical precision, repeating every 142 seconds, like a cosmic heartbeat. For weeks, the data bounced between observatories. Some dismissed it as a calibration error, others as a coincidence. But one group, a quiet division of the European Space Observatory, saw something else. They noticed the pulse corresponded exactly with a shift in the comet's coma, the gaseous shroud surrounding its frozen core. Something inside the nucleus was reacting to sunlight, not just melting. It was changing. The hydrogen envelope brightened and dimmed in exact sync with the pulse, as though the comet itself were responding. And then came the second anomaly. As the comet moved away from the sun, instead of fading, it grew brighter, defying every physical law astronomers had trusted for generations. Comets shouldn't gain energy as they retreat, unless something inside was generating it. Theories exploded: alien probe, ancient relic, unknown molecular structure. But amid the noise, one quiet truth rose above the rest. This wasn't just another comet. It was a messenger, and the message was written in light. Something out there had finally answered back. When the data reached the global network of observatories, disbelief turned to obsession. Astrophysicists, data scientists, and even cryptographers began studying the rhythm inside the comet's light, that 142-second pulse, repeating like a beacon. The world's top space agencies convened emergency sessions. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory called it a non-natural periodic anomaly. The European Space Agency urged caution, while the Chinese National Space Observatory publicly stated what others only whispered: this signal may represent intent. Theories multiplied overnight. Was C/2025 R2 a fragment of something ancient? A probe wrapped in ice? A natural phenomenon we'd never seen before? For the first time in modern history, scientists and the public were united by one feeling: awe mixed with fear. Because if this was natural, it rewrote physics. And if it wasn't, it rewrote us. As telescopes around the globe pointed skyward, something else began to happen. The comet's pulse, that steady heartbeat, began to change, quickened. What was once 142 seconds dropped to 138, then 134, then 130, each cycle shorter, tighter, faster, as though the comet itself was aware it had been seen. Across control rooms, silence fell. Every screen, every graph, every spectral readout showed the same thing. The pulse was accelerating. NASA's live feed went viral. Millions watched in real time as the hydrogen envelope around the comet began to flicker, not randomly, but in sequences. Binary, structured, purposeful. Then, without warning, the signal stopped. The comet dimmed, its brilliance collapsing into the void. For 30 seconds, it was gone, as though it had vanished completely. When it reappeared, it was brighter than ever. And embedded within its new pulse was a pattern unmistakably resembling human DNA. When the DNA pattern first appeared, scientists refused to believe it. It was impossible, a cosmic object carrying a genetic signature identical to humanity's own. The odds defied everything known about biology, chemistry, and astrophysics. Yet the data was unrelenting, undeniable. Spectral analysis from 3 independent observatories confirmed it. The molecular resonance inside the comet's light was a mirror, a frequency pattern that matched the very code of human life. Within 48 hours, labs across the planet were decoding the signal. At Harvard, geneticists recognized sequences that aligned with dormant strands inside our genome, the same ones labeled junk DNA. In Tokyo, AI-driven pattern recognition revealed linguistic symmetry in the hydrogen emissions, as if the light itself was speaking in a forgotten biological language. What began as science turned into revelation. One astrophysicist whispered on a live stream, "It's not sending data, it's remembering." The comet, it seemed, wasn't merely passing by, it was reactivating something buried within us. Days later, reports began surfacing from around the globe. Dreams, visions, people described flashes of light, celestial symbols, and whispers in languages no one spoke but everyone somehow understood. It wasn't madness, it was a connection. The media called it the awakening effect. But among scientists, a darker phrase began to circulate: the resonance. The more Earth's instruments interacted with the comet's signal, the stronger the response became, not just in machines, but in minds. Brainwave frequencies started syncing with the comet's pulse. Hospitals reported spikes in neural activity during each light fluctuation. Something ancient had been reawakened, not out there in the cold void of space, but here within us. And the question that terrified everyone was simple: who put it there? The deeper humanity looked into the signal, the more it looked back. Hidden inside the DNA-like pattern was something stranger, data compression far beyond our understanding. The sequence wasn't random. It was encoded information, woven through molecular harmonics that no natural object could produce. At first, researchers thought it was a coincidence. But when the European Bioinformatics Institute converted the signal into binary, a structure emerged, organized, layered, intelligent. The comet's resonance wasn't just mimicking life. It was storing memory, an encrypted cosmic archive. The deeper they decoded, the more impossible it became. The signal's layout mirrored the Golden Record, the message NASA sent into space aboard Voyager in 1977. The same human-made artifact meant to introduce our species to the cosmos. But this one was older, impossibly older. Fragments of sound patterns matched ancient Earth languages, Sumerian, Sanskrit, Egyptian hieroglyphs, combined with waveforms identical to modern speech frequencies. It was as if someone or something had collected every version of humanity and embedded it inside a celestial body. The shock was immediate. Governments went silent. Files disappeared from public servers. Observatories were ordered to shut down feeds. In leaked transmissions, a phrase repeated, "The archive predates humanity." The comet was not a visitor. It was a return. Whispers spread through the scientific underground that buried inside the signal were coordinates, leading not to another star but to Earth itself, to somewhere deep, ancient, and hidden. And suddenly, the story of the comet was no longer about astronomy. It was about origin. Because if the archive was real, if this object had carried our DNA before we ever existed, then humanity was not born here. We were sent back. For centuries, humanity has searched the stars, asking the same question whispered through every age. Where do we come from? But the answer, it seems, was never out there among the constellations. It was written in our own flesh, waiting for the sky to remind us. When the encrypted data inside C/2025 R2 was finally decoded, it didn't reveal coordinates, or numbers, or alien symbols. It revealed images, holographic, multidimensional constructs, fragments of what looked like DNA spiraling through nebulae, merging with oceans, and fusing into primitive cells. But one image silenced every room it was shown in. A planet unmistakably Earth orbiting not around the sun, but around a distant, dying star. The data suggested something unimaginable. Humanity did not evolve here. We were transplanted. The comet's inner structure, carbon, iron, amino acid traces, perfectly matched the theoretical design of seed carriers described in ancient astrobiological hypotheses. Our species, it seemed, was carried here billions of years ago by a network of celestial messengers, biological arcs launched from a civilization older than recorded time. And C/2025 R2 was one of them. A returning vessel, the last echo of a cosmic migration that seeded countless worlds. Scientists debated in panic. Was this panspermia on a galactic scale? Or a message to remind us of who sent us and why? But amidst the chaos, one translation line stood out, reconstructed from the comet's pulse pattern. You were not born in the dark. You were placed there to remember the light. The world froze, because if that message was true, then we were never alone. We were the echo of someone else's beginning. Revelation has always divided humanity. The moment truth steps into the light, belief fractures, and fear takes its place. When the message from C/2025 R2 was made public, the world trembled. Governments denied it, religions condemned it, and billions of people woke up to a question that shattered history itself. If we were sent here, who sent us? Riots erupted in major cities. Cathedrals were filled to capacity. Scientists were treated like prophets or traitors. The Vatican declared an emergency synod, calling the comet a test of faith. Meanwhile, data leaks from NASA revealed something even more disturbing. The comet's trajectory was shifting, slowly but unmistakably, toward Earth. Theories spiraled into hysteria. Was it returning home? Was it calling us back? Or had our detection of it triggered an ancient protocol, one that had waited eons to awaken? As chaos spread, humanity split into two factions. The Seekers, who believed the comet was our origin and salvation, and the Sentinels, who saw it as an infection, a threat to be destroyed. Digital wars broke out. Power grids failed. Communication satellites were jammed by unknown interference matching the comet's frequency. For the first time since the dawn of civilization, humanity wasn't fighting each other over land or belief, but over existence itself. In underground labs, scientists continued to study the signal, but something horrifying was happening. Each time they analyzed the pulse, the same pattern appeared inside human test subjects. Their neural activity synchronized with the comet's frequency, identical to the pulse first recorded in the SWAN images. The comet wasn't just communicating, it was connecting, and connection, they soon learned, came with a cost. It began at 2:17 Universal Time. Every major observatory across Earth reported the same anomaly, a spike in electromagnetic frequencies originating from C/2025 R2. For 13 seconds, the comet went dark. Then, without warning, it began to speak. The transmission wasn't sound. It wasn't radio. It was light, encoded into wavelengths that bypassed traditional communication entirely, slipping through satellites, fiber optics, even neural networks. Every device capable of receiving a signal, from cell towers to pacemakers, registered the same pulse. People described it as a vibration in the air, a low, harmonic hum that made glass tremble and hearts race. And then the world changed. Screens flickered with symbols that seemed alive, morphing faster than language could interpret. Computers crashed. Data turned to static. Yet amidst the chaos, one pattern stabilized. A sequence of images, repeating over and over. A spiral galaxy collapsing, a wave of light expanding, and a single phrase written across every translation system on Earth. We remember you. Across continents, millions fell unconscious simultaneously. Neural scans later revealed synchronized brain activity, identical in shape to the comet's pulse frequency. It was as if a message had been downloaded into humanity itself. When those who woke began to speak, their voices carried strange resonances, a secondary tone beneath speech, like an echo of the same frequency pulsing in space. The comet's light now flashed once every 118 seconds, shorter, sharper, deliberate.